I don't even know where to begin with this. I mean, almost everything that could have happened in this race happened. It's storming outside where I am, not Brazil, ironically, where it was storming. So if you hear a bunch of background noise, I can't really control it because it's a pretty big storm. Anyways, the storm in Brazil postponed qualifying to Sunday morning. And this qualifying produced one of the most bizarre results. And we're going to go, trust me, when I say at the beginning, I don't know where to start. I'm literally starting at the beginning because I don't know where else to start. Verstappen 17th to 1st, double Alpine podium, Lando Norris choking restarts and starts again. Everyone wrecking, spinning, 6 red flags or whatever it was during qualifying. So we're going to start right there. Everyone was spinning and wrecking in qualifying. It was raining, extreme conditions. And the final results of qualifying was Lando Norris on the pole, which we've seen a lot of that lately. McLaren, really quick. Lando Norris was the biggest threat to the Drivers' Championship. And George Russell was second, so a pretty normal front row. Let's go to row 2. Anyone want to guess? Anyone? Max Verstappen, Carlos Sainz, Charles Leclerc, Lewis Hamilton? No, none of those guys. How about Yuki Tsunoda and Esteban Ocon? Yeah, that was your row 2. And then Liam Lawson was 5th. We should have known right then and there that today was just going to be just chaotic in every single angle. So we get our chaotic qualifying. Max Verstappen, by the way, the world championship leader, who his lead has been slowly diminishing. And once again, I've said this multiple times over the season. I've never felt that it's like a true championship fight. It's just that Norris keeps chopping in, Red Bull keeps falling back, and we're a Verstappen DNF away from this being a championship fight. And well, all of a sudden, Verstappen qualifies 12th, and he has a 5-place grid penalty for switching engines. So all of a sudden, Norris is 1st, Verstappen 17th, and yes, it's still tricky conditions. It's going to be raining all day in Brazil, but this is a big opportunity for Lando Norris. Win this race, and you get it at the absolutely 6 points you gain on Verstappen. And that cuts it under 40. That's a really big deal with 3 races to go and a sprint on top of that. Well, Lando Norris starting 1st, his rival starting 17th, and I will say Alex Albon did not start this race due to crashing and qualifying and not being able to have the damage repaired. We had a couple cars in the pit lane, so it was really like 15th, 14th maybe technically, but he was in the 17th grid slot. Well, at the start, Lando Norris does what Lando Norris does best, and he gives up the lead. When he was doing it earlier in the year, there are times where, yes, everyone's going to point it out because it is kind of a significant problem. It's cost him some time, and a couple occasions it's cost him a race. And it's a problem that Lando Norris has had. He can't start the race for some reason. And it happened once again today. George Russell takes the lead from him into turn 1, and Norris is sitting in 2nd. And with the wet conditions, it made passing tricky, but not impossible, but trickier to what you could do. But meanwhile, Norris's rival, Max Verstappen, he's up into the points, like a lap and a quarter into this race. Like just an unbelievable, insane start by Verstappen. Yes, he's in a really good car. Yes, those guys back there are not. But there's a lot that could happen. Crashes could happen. Spins could happen. Someone could stall. You yourself could stall. You could get a bad start and be last. Like, the amount of possibilities. And then on top of that, it's raining. It's extremely wet outside. So Verstappen suddenly in 10th. Norris is in 2nd. But those top 2, they pull away. They pull away from Yuki Tsunoda in 3rd. Esteban Ocon in 4th. Charles Leclerc is in 5th. But then Verstappen, he keeps on moving. 9th, 8th, 7th. He gets to 6th and essentially stalls out for a bit before the first pit stops. And there was no real hard strategy like we normally see. Like usually they have a range. If you're stopping for the hard tires, you're going to stop between laps 20 and 25. If you're going to stop for the mediums, you're going to stop between laps 33 and 38, things like that. But when it's raining all day, you got the intermediates and the extreme wets, but it's all based on when the rain gets there. How hard is it going to rain? And it creates a completely different element to the race. And we saw some people trying things out. The first one to pit, Charles Leclerc, pitted around lap, I don't know, 30-ish, I want to say. And he pits and he gets intermediate tires. And this kind of starts a sort of chain. We see Yuki Tsunoda pit. We see Sergio Perez pit. We see a few other guys back in the field. And at this point, Verstappen's up to like 4th, I think. And finally, the leaders make the call. Lando Norris and George Russell make the call. We're going to come in and we're going to pit for new tires. So that leaves Esteban Ocon leading, Max Verstappen second, Pierre Gasly third, and then the McLaren of Norris and the Mercedes of Russell, they come out and they are able to, get in 5th, 6th, I think it was. And then they were able to make their way up to 4th and 5th. And in this time, Norris was actually able to get back by George Russell, which was a really big deal at the time. So all of a sudden, you've got the top 3 who haven't pitted. You got Norris right there in 4th, ready to pounce, closing in. And it happens. Safety car. Caution. Full course yellow, whatever you want to call it. Because at this point, the rain had gotten too extreme. It was too wet. There was too much spray coming out of the cars. You couldn't see anything. And that changed the race. That was a major point in this race. And the leaders have a chance to go in and pit and get their tires, but they don't. They want to stay on the intermediates a bit longer, try to outlast this storm, and then they'll get their fresh tires and try to come back. Well, they received another lucky break when Franco Colapinto decided to wreck. Well, he didn't decide to, but he ultimately wrecked under the safety car. And at that point, he's crashed. There's debris everywhere. He's in the middle of the racetrack, right in the front stretch. Red flag. And at that point, it's like, oh my God, like Max Verstappen is in second to an Alpine. He's going to win. He's about to do something special. And I tell you what, the leaders switch their tires. The leaders do what they got to do. And Ocon actually did a great job. He led for about 20 laps of this thing. He held off Verstappen, actually gapped him on the first one. And then there's another safety car that happens. And that's when Max Verstappen inevitably got the lead and he ran away and won this thing by 19 seconds. Lost in all this because I was so distracted talking about the rain, talking about everything else. Lance Stroll, ladies and gentlemen, wrecked or just spun out. He didn't even wreck. He didn't even hit anything, I don't think. I think he hit one of those billboards, so not real damage. He spins out, okay, on the formation lap. And he lands fine. He lands on a nice paved strip. Yes, it's a little wet. It's a little bit slick, but he lands on a paved area. What does Lance Stroll do? Lance Stroll decides, nah, I don't want to race today. And he drives straight to the gravel, and he gets stuck. All of a sudden, the beginning of this race is aborted, and there's no race start, but the top drivers decide to lead the army off the cliff, and Lando Norris, George Russell, Yuki Tsunoda, top 5, they all decide, okay, let's do another formation lap. Without being directly told, do another formation lap. And as a result, they're all under investigation and could be penalized. So Lance Stroll, ladies and gentlemen, potentially penalizing people for triggering another formation lap that shouldn't have been triggered. Delays the start about 15 minutes. But anyways, back to Lando Norris. We talked about his poor start. Well, let's talk about his safety car restarts. The standing start's one thing. You're going from, high revs, trying to get into first gear and, get a good launch, all that stuff. And you're still trying to get a good launch, trying to time things out on a rolling start, but Lando Norris today was bad, straight up. I mean, bad. He started on pole. They've had the quickest car most of the weekend. And once again, I know it's tricky conditions, but every single start or restart, bad, as I said. The initial start we already talked about, but the first restart off of a safety car, he loses a position. He falls from, I think it was 4th to 5th. Then that second safety car restart hits, and Norris, once again, and he didn't lose a single position. He went from 4th back to 7th because he completely missed turn 1, cuts the corner. I guess you're supposed to do that. I don't know if that's a penalty. Cuts the first chicane, essentially, and comes back out 7th. he ends up 6th, and that's it. Once again, I've never felt like this Drivers' Championship was a true battle because the gap was too big and Norris has made too many mistakes this season. Norris and McLaren, I should say. They're a threat. They might win the Constructors' Championship. In fact, I'd say they're favored for that. But for the Drivers' Championship, I never thought they had a shot unless Verstappen started DNFing. And today solidified it. Max Verstappen can clinch the championship next time out at Las Vegas. And Max Verstappen, as we go to the results here, today he put it together an all-time drive. What he did today was nothing short of incredible. To go from 17th to 1st, get the majority of that on the road, not through some fluky strategy, not through some fluky change of events or tires or cautions. And yes, he had a little bit of help with the safety cars and whatnot and other people doing different strategies, but he drove from 17th to 6th in like 5 laps, 10 laps, whatever it was. It was breathtaking, honestly. And then when he finally got the lead from Ocon, he showed us why he's a 3-time world champion, why he's 3rd on the all-time wins list. There's been all this talk about Verstappen's driving tactics, his dirty driving, and he's defended himself. He said, I'm a 3-time world champion. I know what I'm doing. Today, he proved it. Today, he showed the world why he's arguably the best on the grid right now, why he is the 3-time defending champion, about to become 4-time defending champion. And once again, that last stint, he didn't have to pass. He passed one car, Ocon. But what he did there, fastest lap, just clicking them off like it was nothing. And to go from 17th on the grid to not only winning, but to winning by 19.477 seconds. Astonishing. When Lewis Hamilton did this a few years ago, when he drove in that sprint from 20th to 5th and then in the race from 10th to 1st, that was extremely impressive. Extremely impressive. Great drive. But this one felt different. 17th to 1st in the wet weather conditions was just, and then to win by almost 20 seconds, insanity. Genuine insanity. Max Verstappen wins today. Not mathematically clinch the world championship, but he might as well. He can clinch it at Vegas. All he's got to do is stay even. He can even afford to lose 2 points at Vegas, and he's the world champion. So Max Verstappen is your winner at Brazil. His first win since, May, June at Spain. Red Bull, their story this year, they fell off a cliff. They were not competitive in terms of race-winning speed. McLaren has been the best team since about that time, even a little bit before, like Miami. And we've seen Ferrari win races. We've seen Mercedes win races. Red Bull's been nowhere to be found. They get the occasional podium. They'll get a 3rd, maybe even a 2nd every once in a while. But in terms of winning, even when they finish on the podium, they are far off of Mercedes or Ferrari, McLaren, and yes, every once in a while, Mercedes. But today, even this weekend, they were quicker than Ferrari, or Verstappen was at least. And McLaren might have been a little bit better, but Verstappen was almost in a world of his own, it felt like. I know he finished 4th in the sprint because of a penalty and whatnot, but what a weekend for them. What a weekend for Max Verstappen. And then we go to more unbelievable stuff. Look at this. Esteban Ocon, Pierre Gasly for Alpine. Alpine entered this race 9th out of 10 in the Constructors' Championship. And they got a double podium. What were those odds? What were the odds on an Alpine double podium? It had to be like 1,000 to 1. If you had that bet slip, hats off to you. You're rich now. Oh my goodness. But what a drive by both of them. Ocon might have been in the top 3 for every single lap of this race. Started 4th. Did he get around Tsunoda early? I can't remember. So maybe he was top 4 the entire race. We'll say that. He gets up to 3rd, stays in 3rd, pit cycle happens, gets into the lead, holds on to the lead for like 20 laps, and ends up finishing 2nd to Max Verstappen. Come on, what a day for them. What a day for Alpine. The struggles they've had this year, the struggles they've had recently, beyond just this year, everything that's happened, the changes that have happened within this team, whether it's the management, whether it's the drivers that are about to have another change. What a day for them. I mean, they just launched themselves from 9th to 6th in the Constructors. And they were saying on TV that could be a $50 million difference if they can hold on to 6th. What a day for Alpine. This is a potential just massive, massive day for their future. And there's been a lot of speculation about their future, changing their engine suppliers and whatnot. And once again, this could be the last podium for Alpine. It probably will be for Esteban Ocon, a team that he's been at since they were Renault. I know that wasn't that long ago, but he got podiums with them when they were Renault. He's gotten podiums with them as Alpine. He won with them as an Alpine driver. And now, with just a few races left in his Alpine career, he gets to leave as a podium sitter. Pierre Gasly gets to leave here as a podium sitter for the second time. Remember back in 2019 with Toro Rosso, he scored a podium. Another upset podium in a sense for Gasly at this track. A great drive by him as well. Had George Russell right behind him the rest of that race. Just mind-blowing, really. But man, what a day for Alpine. And then George Russell. He might be in trouble. Him and Lewis Hamilton. Apparently, they did the tire pressures while the tires were on the car, like right before they left the grid. And that's not legal. I can't decide if the internet's right. They might be disqualified for that. So that fourth has a big asterisk right now until stated otherwise. But if he gets fourth, great for him. Fifth place, Charles Leclerc. Solid day for him, but big ouch to Ferrari. Well, actually, no. I think they actually gained. Well, I don't know. That's too much math. Constructors' Championship stuff, ladies and gentlemen. Lando Norris also has a potential penalty. It's not disqualification level, but he could get a penalty for that false start or that aborted start doing an extra formation lap. And once again, a disaster of a day for Lando Norris, a disaster of a day for McLaren. I mean, today was bad. Once again, just bad. Lando Norris, just, I hate to say it, but just was not ready for this at this time. If McLaren's continuing to be fast next year, maybe he'll be ready next year for the Drivers' Championship to be in the fight for that. But this year he was just not ready. Showed it on multiple occasions. And the fact of the matter was, it's who his opponent was too. Max Verstappen's going to be a very difficult driver to beat, and he showed why today. But next year for the Drivers' Championship, he's got a great shot. Maybe he can just rejuvenate himself over the offseason. But then also they're still fighting for the Constructors' Championship. Yuki Tsunoda ends up finishing in 7th. Great points day for him. Was up in the podium places at the beginning. Great qualifying effort by Yuki. Oscar Piastri got a time penalty, so that dropped him to 8th. Liam Lawson finishes 9th, so double points for V-Carb. I think we call them that now. But great day for them, regardless. Lawson was in a couple of incidents today and able to recover and come back. Lewis Hamilton, your final point scorer, he went off the track I don't know how many times. He was struggling with his car all day long and somehow scored a point. Very impressive. And same situation as Russell. TBD if that 10th stands. Sergio Perez, 11th. That's what we'll say on that. Ollie Behrman, subbing for Kevin Magnussen, who was sick this weekend. He went off the track a bunch. A lot of these guys went off the track today. Oscar Piastri, Behrman, Hamilton, Lawson, Norris. A lot of these guys once again. Bottas, Alonso was complaining about his back at the end of the race. Hopefully he's okay. Zhou Guanyu, Carlos Sainz wrecked out of this race. Colapinto wrecked out of this race. Hulkenberg. This is another weird thing that happened in this race. He got assistance when he spun out and was having car troubles. He got assistance to be pushed back onto the track, and so he got disqualified. So an in-race disqualification. Add that to the aborted start, Lance Stroll wrecking on the formation lap, Lando Norris blowing restarts and starts, Verstappen 17th to 1st, Alpine double podium. Insanity. Albon didn't start, Stroll didn't start. Once again, what a race, man. Everything that could have happened, happened. Just incredible. Interlagos has never had a bad race, it seems. So, just incredible racing today. Incredible, just edge of your seat stuff all throughout the day with the weather. Great stuff at Interlagos. Max Verstappen likely going to be your driver's champion. Once again, I felt that way all year long, but people have said otherwise. Anyways, we got NASCAR coming up. I actually got to wrap this thing up. I went a little bit longer than I wanted to, but NASCAR coming up. I'll get you that recap as soon as I can. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed. See you guys for the NASCAR Final Four, or I guess soon to be Final Four recap.